Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. I think we're just going to wait like about 2 minutes before we actually get started, but I love seeing faces, so thank you for having video on. And I also like hearing voices, so if anyone wants to share a little bit about what interests them in this topic, I'd love for you just to unmute and share your thoughts. You can even use the chat box if you'd like.
Hi, my name is Susie, and the reason why I joined this one was because I've done some networking myself, so I guess I just wanted to see your point of view and like probably more advice on it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Hopefully I have some new perspectives and some new views. I'm also hoping to hear from some of your perspectives, maybe some things that I don't say that you think are really important. Feel free to share. This is very much an open discussion. Would anyone else like to share before we get started? Okay, feel free to put some thoughts in the chat box as well. Got about 21 people in. Has anyone here had networking change their life? You can use the chat box or unmute and share. Networking has seriously changed my life in so many ways. Some of the job opportunities that I got in my life and in my career that have really altered and kind of pivoted where I was going. One of them was when I was bartending. The guy across from me, a customer, ended up getting one of my really good friends a position and then me hired from one of my first time full-time jobs. And then what brought me into coaching was actually I was out at a bar by myself, just talking to people, being social. And someone stopped me and said, I see what you're doing as like a social dynamics, interpersonal dynamics coach. You need to meet my boss tomorrow. And I met his boss and ended up getting hired to run a nationwide boot camp program teaching social skills across the United States. So those just two random, I'm out there talking to people, sharing my story, led to some unbelievable experiences in my life and have really just brought me to where I am today. So I think we can get started because that kind of encompasses what I'm here to discuss and how can you unleash the power of networking. And so really we want to become relationship wealthy. I mean, relationships are actually it is like the only global currency in the world. Right? You can use relationships anywhere that you are. And so we're really going to discuss how to become wealthy in that area. I'd love for everyone to turn their video on if you feel comfortable. I know some people may be hanging out at home in sweats, but we're not judging. Feel free to turn it on anyways. Usually my cat runs behind me at least at one point during a workshop. So we do not judge. Keep your video on. I'd love seeing faces. Mute, please, when you're not speaking, and participate. I'm going to be asking some questions to all of you. Participating is going to help everyone else on the call. It's going to make it more engaging and fun. And also it solidifies learning. If you look at applied learning theory, a lot of it is just, you have to actually experience what you are learning at any given time for it to transfer into like your long-term memory, the long-term memory areas of your brain. So if you speak it, if you write something down, if you have a conversation about what we're talking about, it's more likely going to stick around. And then also please respect everybody. We're all here to learn. We're all here to grow, hopefully also to connect. So please respect everyone that's on this call. I don't think I know anyone on this call. So I'd love for you to introduce yourselves at some point. Reach out to me on LinkedIn and send me a message. But real quick, my name is Dr. Benjamin Ritter. I founded LFY Consulting, Live for Yourself Consulting, about 4.5 years ago. I've been coaching for about 10 years, and I have a background in organizational leadership. But I've spoken across the United States. I've spoken virtually across the globe. I am a mentor, a teacher, and ultimately everything I do is really focused on helping others create a career that they can love. If that's launching a business, pivoting into a new industry, or just navigating your current career path right now where you are at the organization you're in, that's where I love to focus and that's where I operate. So please reach out to me. Connect with me on Instagram, on LinkedIn. I post a ton of free content on YouTube. And I'd love to hear from everyone on this call if you have any questions to follow up and just to connect, because that's what we're here for. So today we're going to quickly discuss the job market. We're going to talk about what it means to build your brand, how to actually make connections and ultimately to become relationship wealthy. And then there'll be some time for Q&A at the end. You will see like these little boxes that will pop up throughout the presentation. A lot of them will have action items. So if you don't have something to write with, please get it or open a Word document on your computer. There's going to be little homework assignments. And as I mentioned before, you don't really learn unless you do. So these homework assignments are going to help you actually start becoming relationship wealthy and are going to cement some of the strategies you need to kind of almost make habits for this to actually occur in your life. So this is where I ask you guys some questions. So please engage. Where do y'all look for jobs? How do you get a job? Put your thoughts in the chat box, unmute and share your thoughts. It's hard. So where are you looking right now? How do you apply for a position? Shout it out for me. LinkedIn, yeah. Okay, Google jobs near me. I love that. Talking to teachers, Indeed. Okay, so we have job boards, job hiring sites, people you know it looks like, or people you respect that are operating in a field. And through the website itself. Love that. Under the rug. Okay, so there are, it's not like a secret, right, with the categories and where you find a job. You have job listing boards, career pages at specific organizations. So you go to an organization's website, got recommended, you get referrals, or this now, you probably heard this term that if you've been looking at any articles about this job market today, the hidden job market, which is really like jobs that haven't been posted yet, jobs that are given to smaller search firms, jobs that, really, because some organizations just want to hire word of mouth. So jobs that are kind of waiting to hire, but they're not posted on these major job boards. They're there in the market, and they're very hard to find if you're just browsing some of these career pages and websites. So thinking of just like applying for jobs on some of these websites like LinkedIn or Indeed, what do you think the % rate is of like success to a first phone screening or interview? Feel free to put it in the chat box or unmute and shout it out. Think about maybe your own experiences. %. I like that. It's kind of optimistic. It's really positive. A low percentage, okay. 30. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times I work with clients and they have this like idea as well. If I apply for 3 jobs that I really like on a job board, I'm likely to get at least 1 interview. And then that doesn't tend to happen. And they wonder why. They think something's wrong with them or their resume. Or why doesn't anyone want me? Why am I not qualified? And they get discouraged. But in actuality, this percentage is fairly low. You're looking, at probably about a 5 to 15% success rate when it comes to applying for a job cold, when you don't know anyone. And that's just to the initial phone interview. That's not even to the second interview or getting the actual job. So it's similar to like direct mail. If you're ever taking a marketing class, it's really direct mail is a 2 to 3% like success rate in terms of getting someone to go and purchase a product. Just applying for a job cold, if your expectations towards that are really important, and also it's the understanding that it's the lower success rate. So I'm curious, what do you guys think about referrals? What's the success rate there in terms of getting the first job interview? Like the first screening, if you get referred for a position. A lot higher, 60%, 50%. So a couple important statistics about how to find jobs and how to get that first job interview is to understand that applying for positions cold has a low success rate. And that's not to discourage you from doing it. It's actually just to say, well, maybe just apply for more, or actually have the expectations that you might not be hearing back from people. But then to also highlight that referrals make up to 40% of new hires. And then that hidden job market I spoke about, the jobs that are actually not listed on these job boards, that makes up to 70%. of the jobs that are on the market. So this really highlights the importance of networking and building relationships and understanding that to get a job today, yes, it's important to look at job boards and to apply for those jobs, but it's even more important to ensure that the network around you can actually support you in looking for that job and is going to support you along your career path moving forwards. So before we even talk about outreach and how to build those relationships, I want to talk about how to build your brand. And so use the chat box or unmute. What do you think is so important about building your brand, or what is even building your brand? Like, what does that even mean? And how is it even related to networking? Why should it matter if you have a brand? If you think about how you affiliate like Nike or Amazon or Facebook, and think about the brands that are in your life today. Know what you're looking for, okay? It allows you to become unique to the job market. Creating a label or name associated to you.
I'll say building like your reputation.
Yeah, okay, your reputation. If you see a brand like on a sign when you're driving, like you see the Golden Arches, you know that's a fast food joint. You know what the food tastes like. You know that if you're hungry, that might be somewhere you want to stop. And sometimes even if you don't see one, you'll look it up and be like, where's Taco Bell? I need Taco Bell right now. So building your brand is really important because yes, you know yourself, but then also other people know you too. So brands are a really important critical component to networking. A brand, especially when it comes to building relationships, needs to be about you. It needs to be about what you're passionate about, what you care about, and that helps it become memorable. So memories are created by emotions. So if whatever your brand is needs to incite some level of an emotion. And if it's memorable, then people can remember you. So for me, if I have like a long period to introduce myself to someone, I'll go into my backstory about trying to become a professional soccer player when I was younger, how I failed in that, or failed quotation marks, and that led me to really having no self-identity, which then I dove into the field of personal professional development, which started me on this path to becoming a coach and where I am today. If I had a shorter amount of time, I could just talk a little bit about this is my backstory, but that I also have over 10 years of coaching experience and a doctorate in organizational leadership. I'm truly passionate about helping others create a career that they can love, because for so long, my career was really based on reacting to the environment. The first time I could get a full-time job was during a recession. My first 4 job offers were actually canceled because they lost federal funding after I signed on the dotted line in the contract. And then when I was finally in an executive level position, I felt underutilized and really stuck in my role with no one to turn to. And so just your pitch should encompass what you're passionate about, a little bit about your experience and what your vision is for the future. And so, of course, you need to know what these are first. You need to know what these things are. So you need to spend time actually creating and crafting your brand, understanding who you are. But then the more you actually speak about that out loud, and more that you have conversations about it, the more concrete it will become, and the easier it will be to actually share that to other people in your life, for them to actually remember you. And then ultimately, right, for you to build those relationships and be able to recommend you for positions or think about you when an opportunity comes up or someone that they can connect you with. And it's so important once you discover this brand to actually then align all of your content, LinkedIn, social media, the conversations you're having to that specific brand. Because what does someone do after you talk to them? They'll look you up. Or what if someone finds you, they search for you and look at your LinkedIn profile, but like if my LinkedIn profile had nothing to do with creating a career you love, if it just was all about the food industry, maybe all my experience was in the food industry, everything I talked about was the food industry, people wouldn't think that I was aligned and wouldn't actually feel that my brand was relevant, unique, or honest. So think about, once you know who you are, how can you start living true to that? How can you actually incorporate that into your professional and personal world? And so what I'd love for everybody to do is to actually spend some time later today or this week and just try writing your elevator pitch. What's your background? What's your street cred? What sort of experience have you had so far? And if you don't have that, that's okay. Because right now your story could be, you know, I'm a student that's driven and learning and willing to put in the effort, etc. So it's okay, play to your strengths. And if you're a student still, then you can actually use that as leverage, because people actually want to have conversations with students. I can tell you, as a business owner and business professional, I always respond to people that are hungry for information and are still kind of in school and learning. And then think about, well, what's your vision? Where do you potentially see yourself going? Or what do you actually potentially see yourself wanting to learn? And that is just as important as having a vision, like in a fully crafted career already, because that will draw people that actually care about the same things you do, or help them think about people that might care about what you care about, and then connect you ultimately. I also highly suggest, put this on their action item list, to reconnect with someone in your life, a coworker, a previous mentor, previous teacher, and actually discuss the things you care about in your brand. See if it resonates. And then even ask them, right? If they respect you, ask them for a LinkedIn review on your profile, or ask them for an introduction to someone that actually is aligned with your brand and might actually help you move up. What's important about this is it's going to build self-awareness. It's also going to actually create some action for you to start building those relationships that are going to be important for becoming relationship wealthy. So, another question. Now that you have your brand and you're ready to make connections, where do you look? How do you find people? Events, yeah. On this call, go through the attendee list. Social media, okay. Mentors, yeah. Media. Engage with people. I'm loving these ideas, because honestly, you can look everywhere. Once you know your brand is you, is literally you. And so you should always feel that you can share your brand with everybody in your life. If you meet someone on LinkedIn, your introductory conversation is going to include that brand. When you meet someone in person at an event, even a social engagement, everyone always asks, so what do you do? Instead of even saying what you do, you could say what you care about. Give your pitch. And this pitch isn't really a sales pitch. It's just about who you are and where you want to go in your professional life. So think about, take this idea of networking, let's take it out of this. I need to go to an event. I need to shake hands with people and exchange business cards, or I need to connect constantly with people on LinkedIn. No, networking is a lifestyle. Networking is just building relationships. And when you have some sort of vision on what sort of experiences you want in your professional life, and you don't need to know the job that you want, you just need to know a little bit about what you care about and the experiences you actually might want to have. You can incorporate that in every conversation. You're not overstepping any boundary by sharing what you care about and what your visions are. If anything, people are actually going to be attracted to that because you're authentic and really open. So then that allows them to connect with you as well. So I know reaching out to people can be nerve-wracking a little bit. And a lot of times, especially if you don't know your brand, it can be very hard to feel like you have something to share with someone. Be very difficult to say, I'm going to reach out to someone, send a message, but what am I going to say? So it's really important you put some effort into building that elevator pitch of who I am, what I care for, and what I want to actually achieve in a little bit, like what experiences I want to have. Because that's going to help you deal with some of the fear and this awkward discomfort that comes with reaching out to a stranger. So I highly suggest to think of this as a game. Think of networking as a game. How many no's does it take until you get a yes? How many people ignoring you does it take till someone responds to you? And once you get those numbers, it's kind of fun to try to beat them. Or it's actually just nice to understand that a lot of people aren't really that engaged when it comes to being online or engaged to being networking. The goal here isn't to connect with someone, right? This one person that you find online. The goal is to find someone that's interested in connecting with you. Because the people that are willing to have networking conversations with you and to connect with you, those are the people that actually can become relationships that you have for the rest of your life. The people that you have to fight to actually connect with, those are people that, they're not going to be lasting relationships a lot of the time. So actually be thankful when someone doesn't respond, because that helps you actually find the people that are going to be truly engaged. So let's get our mindset around this idea that it's okay if someone says no. It's also going to be a little uncomfortable talking to a stranger, but that's normal. It gets a little bit better the more often you do it, but I promise you, it's always a little awkward. And that we're really just looking for people that are engaged. And what's kind of neat, I keep citing LinkedIn, you can see someone's activity on LinkedIn. You can see if they post, you can see if they like people's posts, you can see if they've written articles, and that kind of helps you understand who is more active on some of these virtual platforms. You can do it with Facebook, with Instagram, etc. So that's also really helpful with understanding who is accessible. Okay, we're in this virtual world right now where it's very hard to meet people in person at the moment. And so I'm going to really just talk about virtual outreach. Now that you have your brand, you can actually use that information to find 3 to 5 organizations that you want to learn more about. I highly suggest when you're going to do any sort of virtual outreach that you use your values as kind of a divide, like a kind of a compass. I want to speak with organizations, and I'm at a broader level, organizations that align with what I truly care about, or might help me learn the things that I want to learn right now. And then you can use this organizational list to find people that work at those organizations. So you can go to their website, you can find who's on their team, you can then look those people up or message them directly on that website. But I'm going to cite LinkedIn again. If you don't have a LinkedIn profile, highly recommend creating it. You can side message me and I can help you build it out. But a lot of people that are going to be interested in networking will actually be active on LinkedIn. And it lists with the organizations they work for. You can find a list of almost everyone that works in an organization on LinkedIn, and then specifically target your outreach towards those people. Highly recommend time blocking this out. So if you want to reach out to 5 or 10 people a week, maybe 15 or 20, put little time blocks, 2 time blocks on your calendar per week to say, I'm going to spend an hour on outreach. And then I even would recommend a block of time that focuses on an hour on like responding to that outreach. If not, it can get really overwhelming, because let's say you have 5 people that all want to schedule a meeting with you in 1 week. That can cause a lot of stress if you don't have specific blocks of time that you like want to have these phone calls. When you are reaching out, of course, you're going to write a message, but even prior to that, I recommend adding value to whatever social media platform that they have available. So if they post something on LinkedIn, like it, comment on it, share it. If they post something on Facebook, like it, comment it, share it. So what you want to do here is basically show up before you show up in their inbox. So how can you add value by sharing their content, or even just by engaging online, because that actually helps their profile get more visibility prior to even reaching out. So think about that once you are targeting people and who you want to send messages to. And then in that initial message, keep it short, because think about it, this person doesn't know you. So for them to even respond to you is kind of a gift. And so you want to give them the least amount of information to read. It's, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm interested in, or even this is what I appreciate about you. And then can you meet at this time and date for a 20-minute conversation? Like, just keep it short, give them time, give them a date, say that it's going to, give them the length of time of the call itself. Just make it easy for them to say yes. Because you don't want to, okay, so what time works for you? Because then all of a sudden now you've taken 2 messages and you're making it like 6 or 7. And that can actually, if someone is really busy with their time, that can actually decrease the chance that they're going to respond to you. And so I know this is a lot of information at once. I got a little bit more to go through, but do we have any questions right now before I move on? Feel free to use the chat box or unmute. Okay, so an action item here by the way, is to use LinkedIn, or if you use a different profile, that's fine as well, but find 10 people. If you're using LinkedIn, just add them, just hit connect. Like, find the organization that you want to actually connect to, find 10 people that work there, hit connect on their profile, and then whoever actually connects with you, because you can see that under your invitation list, just send them a short message that includes that call to action. I'd love to connect. instead of spending a lot of time crafting specific individualized messages to each of these 10 people, if you do, this is a nice little LinkedIn strategy, if you do kind of target them by what organization they work at, what job title they have, and then just hit connect, the people that actually say yes to that connection are kind of those engaging types. So they usually will be willing to have a conversation. Okay, so the actual conversation. Oh, okay. So what's LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a social media a professional platform. Basically, it's kind of like a Facebook, but it really is for the professional world. If you want to learn more about it, if you want some kind of just general instruction, send me an email. I'll show my contact information. I'm more than willing to give you kind of a brief overview. So the actual conversation that you're going to be having with someone that you don't know, a complete stranger, make it very clear what you want to talk about. So prepare a short agenda, have a couple questions, and remember that this conversation isn't about you. It's about learning about them. You're curious. You're curious about them, their career path, what their pitch is. You want to get them to share their pitch, their story, their mission, and their values. And so when you pick up the phone, even if this is in person nowadays, I'm not sure how many meetings are happening in person, quickly introduce yourself. You give your pitch. You briefly go over the agenda. I just really want to learn more about you, understand a little bit more about your work, and see if we can help each other. And that could be the agenda. It could be that simple. And then you want to be curious. You want to ask them questions. You want to listen and then ask them questions about their answers. So think, how can I get them to be more open? How can I have them share their stories and share their values? And then you can do the same with them. And when you have that type of authentic conversation, you can actually build a real relationship. So turn off all distractions, make sure you're taking notes so you can follow up with them in the future, and really be present in the conversation itself. It really isn't that complicated. Honestly, it's really just about being authentic, asking questions and being curious and listening. You can find every follow-up question for a conversation by listening to the first answer to a question. So a quick action item is to create a list of a couple questions, 3 to 5 questions that you can ask during a conversation, and prepare 2 stories about yourself that exemplify, right, your values and passions and vision for yourself as well, that you can use during those conversations. So at the end of the conversation, when you're ready to get off the phone, make sure you set next steps, because you're not just having a conversation, you're building a relationship. So set next steps and solidify some sort of follow-up, because it's not about today, right? It's about tomorrow and maybe even next year, or maybe even a couple of years from now. Always offer value. So if you were staying present, you should be able to offer them something at the end, either an introduction to somebody or information. And if not at that point, like if you actually don't have anything that you can offer right then and there, Google has an alert system that you can literally go, just Google Alerts, and you can set up keyword alerts. So I can set up, like, say I want to learn about Chicago cats or something. So I literally would type in Chicago cats, do an alert, and every time Chicago cats comes up in like an article or on a website, I will get an alert that it's there. So if I make a connection with someone, like let's say, for today, you can go and set up a Google alert for Dr. Benjamin Ritter. You'll get an alert every time I come out with new media or someone features me. A lot of times people don't know when an article comes out with them in it. So it's cool for you to send that over to them, be like, hey, look, I just saw this. Not sure if you knew about this, but really neat. All of a sudden now you've given them value without really having anything to give. So you also have permission to ask for value. So ask them if they have specific connections that relate to your values or vision. Ask them if they have any information that could help you, any advice. So really, you're not going to get what you want unless you ask for it. So at the end of every conversation, you have the opportunity to give value and also to ask for value. And then please, 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 please track your conversations. Set reminders for when to follow up with people, and then evaluate how each conversation went. And if there are places you can improve, or even let's say you really think you want to work in a certain career in the future, and you've had now 3 conversations with people that have that career, and you're like, wait, I don't actually want this. This doesn't seem appealing to me. So find time, build in time to reflect and really just evaluate the information that you're getting from these new connections. And another little assignment for everybody. So create a spreadsheet, even if you have nothing to add to it yet, and add some headers for connecting with people. So their name, the organization, the date you connected with them, the date that you want to follow up with them. You can actually set calendar reminders for these dates, and then a few comments about what you spoke about. I have this spreadsheet. I go through it on a monthly basis. And because of this, though, because I will go through the spreadsheet, find someone that I've forgotten about, but was a really amazing connection. These people have brought me business. These people have gotten my friends jobs. These people have connected me with others. They've gotten me media attention. So our minds only keep like very few things top of mind. It's very easy to forget people and important people that could change our lives. So please remember to create a spreadsheet and track the people that you connect with. So overall, everybody, to become relationship wealthy, be memorable, right? What is your brand? Give others more relevant connections. So connect people in your life, become the relationship that you want to find. Support the people that you connect with, support their work, share it, send them information about it. Again, connect them with people that share those values. And if you do all of those, it will literally create a lifestyle around you where you will be forever relationship wealthy. Don't forget, this is supposed to be fun. So I know this is a lot of content, but the main reason why we're networking is to build a network around us that relates to the things that we care about and that can support us in those things. So hopefully this adds some value. Hopefully y'all are going to go out there and become relationship wealthy. Hopefully y'all reach out to me as well and build the connection, because I'm more than willing to. And thank you all. So I'd like to open it up for questions now. So feel free to use the chat box and unmute as well. I know it's a lot of information to take in. If you don't have specific questions, I'd actually be curious about what's one thing that you took away that is standing out, that maybe something you want to do, or an aha moment that maybe you didn't have that relates to networking. Rejected. I think when it comes to networking, like there's always rejection, but it's really how you define rejection. Of course, I haven't gotten jobs, right? I've been in final round interviews and haven't gotten jobs. And people have had probably negative opinions of me at times too. When it comes to networking, I don't really see it as rejection again, because I frame it as people don't know me. They have their own lives. They're busy. And so why should they give me their time? I think if someone, I don't even care, like, I don't care if you're the most wealthiest, like if you're literally trying to give people $1 million, like let's say if I was literally trying to give someone $1 million and they said, I don't have time for you. I understand that, because they don't know me, they don't trust me, and they have their own lives. And maybe that's not important to them. So rejection, again, is something that you just learn to re-perceive as nothing personal, but very much based on the perception that someone else has and based on their life. My job isn't to get everyone to like me. And if that's your job, then you're going to have a very difficult life. My job is to just live true to my brand, what I talked about in the beginning, and to understand that I am living true to that brand. So when someone doesn't care about that or doesn't want to connect with that, then that's their prerogative. That's just their decision. It's not specifically rejection. I hope so. Wonderful. Is there a time that is too soon to make an ask of someone in your network? I think it depends on that ask. If it's just for a job or a recommendation, I think if that ask doesn't have context, like if it doesn't include some level of a relationship, like you've had maybe a 30-minute conversation with them and it's been related to that topic a little bit, like I'm job hunting, or these are my values and this is what I'm currently going through, you should be more than happy to ask. if you don't ask for something, you don't get it. And as long as you're giving someone value, right, and they're actually giving you value through their time and they're invested, you should feel like you can ask. Now, if I don't have like a relationship with someone, or maybe the last time I spoke with them was 6 months ago to a year, and since then I haven't added value to their life, for me to randomly message them and say, hey, can you recommend me for this job, might be a little abrupt in some situations, not all, but in some. And so it always helps to just get someone on the phone, give them some value, nurture your relationships, and then ask that question. But if something is incredibly time sensitive, then I'd do that pretty quickly. Say, hey, there's this job opportunity coming up. I'd love to reconnect and have a conversation, but I know this is kind of time sensitive. Would you feel comfortable doing X, Y, and Z? I know it's been a long time since we talked, so I just want to give you a little bit of an update on the things I've been doing. So give them a couple bullet points on the accomplishments you recently had and why you think you're credible for this position as well. So how can we stand out to other people? I think it's less important to stand out, and it's more important that people know what you stand for. I think very often we think we need a spotlight. We need to have all the attention. We need to differentiate ourselves from everyone that's around us. And I don't think that's true. I think what differentiates you, what makes you unique is you. You're already a unique individual, right? There's no one that has the same exact genetic code as you. And so think about, what do I really care for right now? What is something I really want to learn? What's a career that I want to learn more about, I want to dabble in? And then find the reasons why that's important to you. Like, look back in your past and understand the core reasons behind that, not just that it looks cool, right? There's something that's drawing you to that. And use that in how you explain yourself to others. And I promise you that is differentiation enough. So how do you find your value or your purpose? Very good question. And I think, especially for people that are early on in their career, I mean, even later on in their career, because I work with people that are directors and VPs that are still wondering what their purpose, what their passion is, what their values are. There can be a lot of pressure, right? I'm sitting here and I'm like, figure out your brand. What do you stand for? What's your mission? And I didn't use, I really tried to use the word values as minimally as possible, because they shouldn't cause you pain. They shouldn't be negative. And I 100% promise you that what you care about will change and evolve over time. Like, you will probably pivot careers. You will probably think you really care about something or want to be something and get there and realize that's it. Like, maybe I want to do something else. So let's not put a lot of investment in this, like, I will know this one thing that I truly care about and want. But I will suggest to think about what gets you excited. What makes you wake up in the morning? What pulls at your heartstrings? What makes you feel like this is something that is meaningful to you? And to explore that, it's helpful to go through some of your past memories to say, what are the 5 times in my life where I've been the most excited and happiest? To write those out, and then to look for themes, to look for the underlying themes of those memories. Like, for me, they would include travel, they would include soccer, they would include athletics, they would include certain other experiences, they would include when I was in healthcare and public health. And so I can dive into those memories and say, okay, with travel, it was novelty, it was adventure, it was a global audience. And so now all of a sudden I have a little bit more of a hint of the things that I care about and I want to explore. And especially when you're early on in your career, you can combine your values with, what challenges do I want to face? What things do I want to learn? And that should really encompass, as well as your next steps, understanding the things that you want to learn. That should actually be part of your values and purpose right now, because you're still exploring. And it's okay to not have a specific endpoint you want to reach. It's okay to say, I just want to have these experiences right now that relate to my values. And people are going to honor that and respect that and actually be impressed by that. So I know we only have a minute or two left, but if there are any other questions or thoughts or takeaways, how do you deal with a change when you thought you knew your value? It's tough. it's really tough when all of a sudden you thought you were something, or maybe something didn't work out, and now you have this like unknown path in front of you. And so you're thinking about all the time that you invested in this part of who you are, and how you might feel that it was wasted, or you're not really sure what's next. And so this is why I highly suggest, when you feel that something is right for you, that you always keep in mind this idea of balance. You always keep in mind that a career, any sort of profession, or any sort of impact that you want to have on the world is only a part of who you are in your life. So always remember that no matter what you care about, you should still be spending time investing in friends, investing in the people that you care about close to you, still exploring new ideas and hobbies and fun. Because a lot of times I think we get stuck on our values or this career path we think is important to us, and we kind of forget about that, and we overinvest, and the things we care about actually start causing us pain. And so if you're at a point where you think that you want to try something new, how do we look at it not as I wasted all this time, and how we look at it as, what strengths have I developed because of caring about this thing? And how does that help me move forwards in knowing what I don't want to do? And so now allowing me to see that there are so many more opportunities around me and things that I can test out. So again, how do we change our filter to, this is fun, it's an adventure, it should be. And if we're feeling pressure, that's something to explore and say, why do I feel this pressure? Where's this pressure coming from? Because you're going to spend a lot of our time working. Like, you can spend a ton of our time working in life. It should be exciting. It should be a little uncomfortable, because we should be growing. And I promise you, in the end, if you are driven and you're curious, and especially if you're building relationships, it is going to work out. Another plug for everyone again, if anything's resonating with you, send me a message, email me, create a LinkedIn profile and reach out to me. And also, if I can, am I able to send the presentation to everyone? Because I know there were some notes in there, some takeaways. Okay, cool. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll send the presentation to you, and I think it'll be distributed.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Ritter. Scholars, give some high fives, some virtual high fives for that great presentation in the chat. This is a little tradition we've started. But yes, we would love to share out the presentation. Lots of great action items in there. I appreciate that, because sometimes I listen to great presentations and then forget what my follow-up is. So I think that's good to hold us accountable. We do have a couple more minutes left in this session, so scholars, if you still have any lingering questions, I'm sure Dr. Ritter is happy to hang out for a couple of minutes if you want to ask. Otherwise, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. This was a really helpful and great presentation.
I'm happy to hear. It's a pleasure to be here.